He was always working for the American people.
Thank you, Mr. President.
So you may be wondering, you've seen President Trump on TV, and you've heard what the media has to say about him, but you're probably still wondering, what is he really like behind the scenes? Well, I just want to tell you a few things from my perspective today that you might not have heard before. First thing I want you to know is that President Trump is a great listener. Not just really good, but great. Every time I spoke to him, he heard every word I said. He really listened. He asked good questions, and he took in a lot of information very quickly. And that's one of the most important skills any president can have. That ability to take in information quickly, and then be decisive and make important decisions on behalf of the American people. And that's something President Trump is very good at doing. So if there's one thing I want you to remember today about President Trump, it is that President Trump listens and President Trump cares about everyone in this audience. Second, I want you to know that he is very appreciative. Anytime I did something for him, he always took time to thank me. Or he would say, "You're doing a great job." And it made me feel very appreciative. And that's something I will always remember. But third, he is always moving forward. And I just want you to hear a little bit more about this, because I think it's so important. As soon as President Trump finished his speech, or finished signing a document, he was no longer thinking about that speech, or that paper he just signed. Instead, he was immediately moving forward, thinking about the next thing he could do to help the American people. So those are some things you may not have heard about President Trump before, but those were things that impressed me so much along the way. So also, this really leads me to something even more important, and that's telling you a little bit more about why all of us are here today. Like I said, when I arrived, I could see your enthusiasm, and it's great, because I know that every day you are working for your families, for your community, and really for this country, to make it a better place. And I know how much you care about your families and their future. So there are so many topics. Like I said in the White House, I got to work on all these different topics, economy and everything in between. But two of them specifically I just want to mention now. The first is the economy. We've seen the past few years inflation rising and going up so quickly. But with the right leadership in the White House, we can turn things around. How many of you remember the days of President Trump when inflation was low? Things were much better. Right. Well, we can go back to that quickly. I saw it up close, and I know it can happen very fast. So we all know the economy is very important. Also, if you go back and look at the interest rates for a mortgage during the Trump administration, the average was under 3%. Kind of amazing to think about. And we can get back to that too.
Looking forward to that.
Second is the topic of education. Now this is so important. Many of you probably have children in schools right now, K through 12. And during the Trump administration, this was an emphasis. They wanted to provide school choice. They wanted to look out for students and really stay focused on education and math and reading and science and everything else that would help the next generation. But sadly, in the last few years, our country and many school systems have lost our focus. Instead of focusing on math and reading and science and all of the important topics, instead we're focusing on woke indoctrination, which is so sad to see. Right leaders around here, we can see good results again. We can get that focus back, and that's what we need. So we really have to get focused, and those are two topics that really stand out to me, especially in Northern Virginia. But I'll mention one thing too. President Trump can't do this all by himself. He's great. I've seen his energy, his work for the country, but he needs leaders around him, like Jerry Torres. And like Hung Cow.
Oh, cow, yay!
I studied what both of them stand for, and I know they're committed. I know they're both veterans, and they both love this country. And I just wanted to point this out too. President Trump was a great listener, but I can tell that they are as well. And they genuinely care about you and this community. So I just want you to remember about both of them. Also, the first thing I noticed at the White House when I walked in, I still remember on my first day, it's a big team. At first, when I got to the West Wing, I thought it was 70 other people
Hello.
just all working together. And I thought that was all I would get to work with.
Thank
and
you
that
for
was
coming
very
out
exciting. But
today.
I quickly realized it was
Did you
so much
get the
bigger.
coffee?
Every day I was getting to work with the departments,
We're gonna have
the
lunch
agencies,
later.
the CIA, the Pentagon,
Stick around.
and everyone else in between to get documents to the president and to help him. But I just point that out because it's similar for the whole government as a whole. President Trump needs the right team around him. And that starts with helping elect Jerry Torres. And Hung Cat. So many others.
Yeah, come closer. Come
It
closer.
really
Come
is
closer.
a team sport.
Come
So I
closer.
just want you to know that as you leave here today. So all of us today, we're here because you genuinely believe you can make a difference. And I know that too. I was fortunate to see it up close, be in the White House, help President Trump, and make a difference that way. But every single one of you today has a chance to make a difference. If you voted, then you can already go and tell your friends. If you haven't, you can go on Tuesday and make a difference there. Please make your voice heard, and please get out and vote.
Yay! I did. I voted 2 weeks ago.
And now I'd like to tell you why we can all leave here with hope and confidence today. And I'd actually like to show you one thing. A few months ago, I was on a flight to Texas, and I decided to just make a list of some of the biggest accomplishments during the Trump administration. And I just brought this to show you. So in just 4 years of the Trump administration, jobless claims hit a nearly 50-year low. The 1776 Commission to promote patriotic.
Not a beautiful
education
sunny day out here at Eden Center, the largest Vietnamese community in the East Coast,
More than 400 miles
USA,
of border wall
America,
constructed.
Washington, D.C., USA, America.
And 56 hostages and detainees were brought back home. So the list of wins for our country just goes on and on. I just want everyone to see this. Because I actually ran out of room on this sheet. List them all. And I wrote pretty small. But I ran out of room here. There were so many wins for the country in just 4 years. And I just like to carry this with me. Because it's a powerful reminder that big results, great achievements for our country can happen very, very quickly. With the right leadership in the White House, we can see those kind of results happen again. And it can be very soon. So now I'd just like to close by telling you a story. I grew up in Iola, Kansas. It's a very small town, but it's a great place with great people.
I like your
One thing
hair.
I'd like for you to know about Iola
I like
is
your
that it's
hair.
not very close to any major cities. It's
Your
only
hair.
about 6,000 people there. And it's 2 hours from the nearest airport and 2 hours from the nearest big city. And I just point that out because when I was growing up, a lot of what I learned about Washington, D.C. and the presidents and American history could seem very far away at times. So when I moved here to start this job at the White House, I had to learn quickly. I didn't even know how it all worked.
Oh, nice.
There was also a bigger question.
Yo,
I didn't even know
Marty.
if the president really did
Yo,
care
Marty.
about all those small towns across the
You
country.
can sit over there.
But I quickly learned that President Trump does. Every day, he was working for people in big cities all across the country. But he was also working for the people of Falls Church, Virginia, and Iola, Kansas, and everywhere in between. And I hope today you leave here thinking about that, because he really is working for all Americans. President Trump loves this country. Jerry Torres loves
And
this
so
country.
do we. So do we. We love this country too. God bless America, the land of freedom and
So I left the
opportunity.
White House with full confidence that President Trump wants to work for all Americans, and that he loves every part of this country and wants to see the best for it. So I'll just close by saying
Smiling.
this.
Keep smiling.
I don't know what's going to happen on Tuesday, but I am hoping for the best. I am very optimistic. But no matter what happens, I hope we all leave here and we can go home on Tuesday night knowing that we all did our part to get out and vote
Yep.
and put the right leaders in charge. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Woo-hoo. Thank you everyone for being here. Thank you.
You all give Scott another hand, please.
Woo!
All right.
Woo-hoo.
Are we having fun yet?
Yay!
I can't hear you. I'm sorry. What was that? Oh, yeah. Okay. Good. I just want to remind people, housekeeping message, if we could come closer here so the cars could get through. Excellent. Thank you very much. I mean, you want to hear what everyone's going to say, right? So come on over. Okay, so now I'm going to introduce General Bob Wood, who's going to talk about our amazing veterans. Come on up.
Yay!
Thank you.
Thank you for your service. Thank you for your service.
Well, thank my favorite subject. Well, nice to be here. So great to have a chance to talk to you about a couple things. One, importantly, is veterans. How many in here are veterans? You name the nation, are you a veteran? All right, we've got a lot of veterans. How many are also veteran supporters? That's what I'm talking about. This organization here, we started with about 3.5 years ago. Daniel Gabe was running for Senate. He used to work for me in Korea, and he said, "Boss, can you help me out?" We jumped in and did everything we could and found out it was noble, it was right, and it was extremely constructive. This thing called politics, which veterans don't necessarily get to. While we're serving, it's about the mission. Roger? It's about the mission. It's not about politics or policies. That's up here somewhere. We get out, we go home, we find our jobs have left, our schools aren't what they need to be, and we look at problems that seem to be intractable. We can't fix them. The political space is a way you can do it. We believe in change to the ballot box. Change to the ballot box. And like Jerry said, you know, he couldn't find any infrastructure when he came aboard and says, "I want to run for the 8th Congressional District." American Veterans Vote, 755 members now across the state. We got 11 today so far. 755 members across the state. We didn't go away after Daniel Gabe. We stayed in place, we organized, and we've been working now for 3.5 years to build the understanding that veterans have of politics and the political space as constructive, useful, and it shouldn't be avoided. In fact, it should be something they involve themselves in. Why the name American Veterans Vote? Because when we started with Daniel Gabe, all the professionals said veterans don't vote. That's not true. They vote, and they vote in large numbers in Virginia. There's over 700,000 veterans in Virginia. This is a veteran state. This is a veteran state. It's the second largest per capita female veterans in Virginia, right here in Virginia. And we proved it during the year that, you know, Governor Youngkin, when he ran in '71, we organized, we supported, and we were very, I think, helpful in his race because he put all the coalitions together. Veterans, farmers, women, Vietnamese, Korean, you name it. He put them all together and they acted as a team. He understands team and teamwork. We were more than happy to join him, and guess what happened that year? He won. Vieira's won. And seemed to be maybe our ex-governor. She won. Winston Sears, a Marine veteran. This is a remarkable state with a remarkable number of veterans in it, and we decided, let's not go away. Let's be that infrastructure that Jerry talked about. We did not stand down, we stood up, accepted the role of involving veterans in the political space, educating, organizing, and inspiring them to be part of the answer in their communities. Veterans, by their very nature, are problem solvers. They joined the military, and through the military, it was a leadership lab from day one. They went as far as they'd like to go. They left their families, sometimes at home. They deployed quite often, but they came back to be a productive part of this wonderful nation that we live in. By the way, look around you. This is a wonderful place. The Eaton Center has all these wonderful stores created by new Americans like you who came here from a far away. We believe in this nation. We're not afraid of immigrants. We embrace them. We want them here. We want them to be here legal, but we love the fact that we are a nation of immigrants. We love that fact. So when you say come to the Eaton Center and talk about veterans, sign me up. I'm here. I just came down from Alexandria. I see friends in the audience. Bill Cleveland, he's a star, a rock star here and a rock star in Alexandria. He was the vice mayor of Alexandria. I tried to run to be a city council member twice, and he helped me a lot. I learned that it was noble, it was right, and it was constructive. And that's what we like to do as veterans. We're not rabble-rousers, we're team members. We're leaders. And everybody here who appreciates veterans understand that in their core. We've organized now 3.5 years. We're growing every day. You can see some of our members around with this shirt on. You can join right over there if you'd like. All you have to do is sign a code of conduct that any first sergeant, any commander, or any boss would love to see. It's exactly the way we live our life. And that's important to us. By the way, I want to say one more thing about a veteran. I've known him since 1977. That's longer than his daughter. Jerry was a gun chief for me in Fort Carson, Colorado, in an army that was very different than it is now. And I looked around for leadership, Fort Lewis. I looked around for leaders who needed to be part of the answer, and Jerry was there for me, and he did a great job as a gun chief, as a young specialist who became a corporal. He was so good, I said, by means, I'll sign that and send you to Special Forces. And off he went to become a master sergeant all over the world, serving in embassies, in hostile fire areas, and doing a remarkable job. Jerry is a remarkable man and a remarkable leader, and he is a problem solver par excellence. He takes the task at hand and goes out and tries to solve, whether it be the border with Poland, with refugees flowing in, Colombia, Mexico, all over the world, Sierra Leone. He is a remarkable problem solver, and guess what he can do for us in Congress? He can be a problem solver on the front line for everybody here who's in the 8th Congressional District. Jerry inspires. He does not retire, he inspires. And that's what he's done ever since I've known him. So great to link up with him here, so honored to be part of this event today, so important that I could talk to you about the value and worth of veterans. They are the solution. They are the solution in many cases. Whenever I'm in a place I say, let me see the veterans, I see people in faith communities, in team sports, in communities, in small business, all veterans like those here and like those around the walls here. They see the problem, they jump on it, and try to solve it and do it every time. Jerry, thank you for jumping in the ring. Thank you for representing us. We are going to have Hung Pao, a veteran. We're going to have Jerry Torres. We're going to have Mike Van Meter, a member of American Veterans Vote as well. He's here in the 11th. He's going to do great things for you. Another great man with about 4 degrees and a heart as big as you can imagine. But let's make sure the volunteers are willing to show up, and you've got 3 more days to help. 3 more days to do it. But we can do it on the day of voting. Put your veteran cap on, your veteran shirt on, talk about service, and by the way, talk about winning, because we can do it with a team and a team effort led by someone like Jerry, Hung Pao, Mike Van Meter, you name it, we've got the people to do it. Thank you for being here. Carry the message. We're on a winning path. It's hard work. We're not going to shirk it. We're going to get it done. Let's hear it for Jerry. Thank you. Come join us, by the way.
Thank you. That our illegal immigrants are getting a lot of money that should be going to our veterans. Right?
Yay!
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Yes!
Okay, thank you. So next I want to introduce Fox News contributor James Trusty. Come on up, James.
Local Fox! Woo! Local Fox 5! Local Fox 5 there.
Well, let me start by just thanking you guys for spending some of your Saturday with us. I mean, it's a tremendous turnout, and I'm going to go off script right off the top, which is, I look around and I think about the importance of this election, and I think that we're really at a crossroads for this country. And for years, I've been told, as someone in the Washington, D.C. area, that the Republican Party is just like these old, rich, out-of-touch white guys. I mean, I got the old and white part, I don't really have the rich part. But yeah, that's like this stereotype. And you come to a place like this and just look at your neighbors as you sit here. It's astounding. We are the party of liberty. We're the party of diversity. We're the people that accept others. Right? And if you didn't think this was an important election, think how dire it's gotten from the other side. High-level leaders of the Democratic Party are looking around and pretending and lying and saying that we're Nazis. I don't think this looks like a Nazi rally. I'm pretty sure from my history books. Okay, that were garbage, that were deplorables, okay? Should have worn a garbage jacket, I know, that would have been cute. But I mean, really, I have to just start by going off script with this. This is an existential threat to this country. If we have 4 more years of the chaos, of the lawlessness, of the weaponization of justice, you're not going to recognize this country. So, again, maybe it's a negative message, but please use that to do something positive. Vote, get your friends to vote, talk about how important this is. When you talk about protecting American values and doing things that appeal to all of us, whether we're first generation or 50th generation, Jerry Torres is the type of man we want in office. He really is. I want to spend a few minutes talking about him because he doesn't do it enough. He doesn't really tell you all of his core values, and that to me is a tremendously good thing. I've known Jerry for years. I've known him as a very successful businessman, as a leader of men, as a philanthropist in the true sense of the word, not a poser, not somebody who wants to be seen giving to charity, but who actually does charitable things. And I would say if you made me pick one of those characterizations, I'd say, well, none of them really work. What he is a public servant, an old-style public servant. Jerry's public service didn't start because he suddenly wanted to be a politician. It started when he served his country for, I think, 30 years in the military. This is a highly decorated man. The person that got the Silver Star, who got the combat infantryman's badge, who has numerous awards and medals and ribbons. And you know who talks about it? Not Jerry. I'm doing it, and he probably doesn't even like it, because I want you to know what a public servant really is. And it started with 30 years of being in some of the most desperate hot spots in the world, being in combat, being wounded in combat, but carrying his load for his country for all of those years, for many decades. When Jerry pivoted to business, he chose the type of work that was, again, challenging. It was on the cyber front. It was on the security front, helping Americans abroad and others be protected when they're in other countries. And what he did over the course of his work, his business that he founded, is he hired nearly 1,000 veterans to work for him. 1,000 veterans. So even when he's campaigning for office, Jerry's not a braggart. He's not the type that's going to sit here and celebrate all his accomplishments. He doesn't really view them as accomplishments. He views them as his duty, as the things that he has to do to pay back to the country that he loves so much. And I think that hard-working ethic he has, that modest temperament that comes from a man with a modest upbringing, a man that had a military salary for most of his life, but has parlayed that into a hard-working, successful life as a post-military man. It's really an incredible American story, and that's what attracts, I think, what attracts all of us to this candidacy and this policy is we want the American dream to continue. We want it to be a valid thing for our children, our grandchildren, the young men that are here. We want them to have the same benefits we had of freedom and of a free market and of a peaceful country. And Jerry Torres is your local version of securing that. I want to spend another quick second about a little bit of his character that doesn't get enough play, which is philanthropy. You know, in politics, you meet a lot of people that really like to be seen as charitable. They want to get out there and have you just happen to notice when they're contributing to some cause or patting the head of an orphan before they kick him to the side and do something else. Well, Jerry Torres is somebody who has spent a lifetime giving back. Sometimes that's just an individual level, like helping a homeless woman live in a house. Sometimes it's a broader level, like helping the Sierra Leone government stop human trafficking of girls. He contributes to that. This is a person who's familiar with war. He's lived in combat, so it's no surprise that he has helped numerous Ukrainian refugees have stability and security and housing as well. I could go on for literally like 5 pages of this stuff. I mean, you'll just have to trust me, there's a lot more. But the point of it is, what attracts me to Jerry as a man, as a candidate, as a friend, is that these are things he just doesn't tell. He doesn't do it because he's got some political ambition. He does it because it's just his daily existence to do what's right. So I swear I'll finish before 1. We'll get Sarah out here soon, I promise. But a couple of quick things. I was a prosecutor for 27 years in this area, in the Maryland, D.C. area. I've been around criminal justice for 35 years. I typically stay in that lane. I don't like to be a political guy. I like to be somebody who talks about criminal justice. But I've seen some things in recent years that really concern me. The weaponization, the politicization of prosecutors turning into politicians because of their hatred of one man. That's a system that we should not like. Some of you have lived similar systems in your own lives in different countries. And that's something that I think is a clarion call. It's so important that we realize that's got to stop now. And again, that's the type of value, stopping that type of weaponization that Jerry holds dearly. You know, he mentioned progressive prosecutors. I've done a lot of commentary about them. They're in Northern Virginia, they're in Philadelphia, LA, San Francisco. They are barely people that you should call prosecutors because what they're doing is endangering the public, the exact opposite of what they're supposed to do as law enforcement officials. So again, this election has huge national issues to focus on, but all the way downstream, everywhere you look, there are issues where our values are under siege, and you have an opportunity to beat back that change. You know, Jerry's running for Congress for a 2-year term. You know, constitutionally, House of Representatives, you get 2 years. Our opponent, Don Beyer, is looking for, I think, his 6th term. And I have to say, when you look around the D.C. area, when you get to know this area, you see all these politicians that are somehow rich on a pretty modest salary in Congress, that have mansions and houses. And you start to realize that so many of these folks, their only ambition is to get office and stay in office, not to be public servants. They're not there for us. They're there because this is really cool. I'm going to get all sorts of great dollars for speaking opportunities and going on TV shows afterwards for pay. And they have nothing really, no real concern for the people that actually elected them. And I think that's a problem. I'm not saying that even about Don Beyer, but I'm just saying I don't think our founding fathers said it for 2 years because they wanted people to be constantly running for office over and over again, trying to get money from bigwigs and stay in office. I think they said it for 2 years because they viewed it as service. You go in, you do what's right for your constituents, and then you go on to the next chapter. You go on to the next adventure, the next challenge. Jerry's whole life reflects that. Going on to the next challenge, whether it's combat, whether it's helping veterans, whether it's letting Ukrainian refugees have a place to stay, whether it's hiring veterans, whether it's running for office. We're not going to have to talk about Jerry Torres' re-election in 10, 12, 14 years because he's going to move on to other forms of public service. And that's who I want representing me. That's who I want in Congress, are people that view it as a duty, an obligation, an opportunity to set things straight, but with that old-fashioned kind of DNA core of humility, service, and faith. So I'm going to turn it over in a moment here to a person I'm really excited to listen to, Sarah Carter over here. She's going to probably bring some thunder if I know her. But let me just say this. I mean, honestly, objectively, rationally, you have an opportunity today, if you don't already know Jerry, to talk to him. You're going to realize everything I'm saying is spot on. That it's about duty, honor, country. It's about love of country. It's about the wide-reaching values that bring all of us together here, embodied in his philosophy as well. So meet with him, break bread with him, enjoy this beautiful day, and by all means, please vote for Jerry Torres.
Adam Schiff, speaking of 2 primary residences, Adam Schiff happens to have 2 of those, but we're the garbage. All right. Because it's illegal. You can't have 2 primary residences. Just keep that in mind. Okay, I want to introduce our next speaker. Her name is Sarah Carter. She is also a Fox News contributor. Come on up, Sarah.
Thank you so much.
I don't know how I'm going to follow all these great speakers. General Wood, you're amazing. Oh my gosh, how great is that? James, and Jerry, of course. But I'm here today because I came all the way from Texas late last night because I believe in the future of our country. I absolutely do. I see we are at a critical juncture, and as I'm standing here looking around at all of these amazing businesses and all of the people here in this beautiful Eden Center, I'm reminded of my own family. I got a call this morning that my uncle passed away. Yeah, he was a Cuban American, like my mom. I'm a firstborn on my mother's side in America, Cuban American. They fled communist Cuba in the late 1960s, and they understood how quickly a nation can change in the blink of an eye. I remember, and like many of you here from China, from Vietnam, from other parts of the world, who left everything you knew, the place you were born, your language, your culture, your friends, your family, to find freedom, to find a place where you could bring and raise your children, to be free. It didn't matter if you had to work in a factory or scrubbing floors or cleaning bathrooms. I remember when my uncle first started working, he told me he was cleaning a factory. He came from Cuba and he cleaned a factory. He said, I would rather clean a factory than spend one moment trapped in that communist island. What makes our nation so beautiful and so miraculous is that we all have these beautiful stories to tell. Whether it was generations ago when our families first arrived to this beautiful country, or whether it was just yesterday. I feel so connected to the immigrant communities, and that's why I spent the majority of my career covering the US-Mexico border and traveling to Central America and going to other parts of the world. I spent a lot of time in Afghanistan as well. And I see Saber. Saber, I see you over there. There's Saber. You see how much? Saber, you only have the 2 fingers. He gave so much for America. I love you, man. But I've spent so much time traveling the world and meeting amazing people that are willing to give so much for freedom. How is it that we would want, or we would allow that freedom to be taken from us? No, we cannot afford that. Never. We can never afford that. We are united by the common thread, a common thread that people all over the world that struggle and strive to be free are willing to do. That thread allows us to travel thousands of miles to find a homeland, a new homeland for our families, one that the General and my husband so greatly, and Jerry Torres, spend so much time defending. The reason why so many of our young men and women have, sacrificed so much, even their lives, to protect that beautiful Constitution, those principles that our founding fathers put in place so that all of us could be free. And the only thing that they ask of each one of us is to participate in that process. We're the cavalry. We are the cavalry in America. Every single one of us, whether you work here at the Eden Center, in a shop, whether you're a lawyer who worked for President Trump, whether you worked in a factory like my mother, who would come home at 11 o'clock at night sometimes with her hands bleeding because she was putting together parts for an airplane, and would go with her friends and spend, hours and hours on the line just to make sure that my brother and I had a future, that we would have a place to call home, or whether you came from Vietnam or Ethiopia and lost everything and we're looking to rebuild. This is a new generation. We are not buying the lies of the Democrat Party anymore. And by the way, the Democrats aren't either. There are many that have left the party. It has become radicalized. It is a party that bases not on freedom and liberty, but puts all of its efforts into controlling, into censorship, into reprogramming our children in the schools and the universities, meddling in our lives, and changing the trajectory of this great nation. And it does so subversively when we're not looking, when we're asleep, when we're not paying attention. You know, a lot of people have asked me, you know, Sarah, how did this happen? How is it that the Democrats have made such strides that people are willing to give up their freedom? They're willing to allow themselves to be censored? Allow themselves to be censored. Just like you spoke about with China. You know, you wake up one morning and all of a sudden, I remember, and the reason I brought up my uncle, Alfredo, his name was Alfredo Gonzalez, and he said to me, I said, what was it like in Cuba when you lost your freedom? He said, it happened this fast. It happened so fast. Right? You don't even see it. You think you're debating it, you're talking about it, and then all of a sudden, you wake up one morning and you cannot be free. You cannot speak. Somebody else is in charge. You don't know what happened. All of a sudden, you wonder, am I ever going to survive this? You can't speak up. What has been happening to us every single day? We watch it on the news all the time. Exactly. Look at what happened in Canada. Folks, this is not just conspiracy theory. The reality is we have seen our bureaucracies weaponized by a political opponent and a government that has become its own machine and believes it operates outside the purview of the American people and the Constitution. That is terrifying. Even more terrifying is that in our complacency, we've allowed it to happen. But I don't believe we're going to allow that anymore.
No more.
I believe we are waking up.
No more. No more.
I can see it all across the country, whether I'm in Chicago and groups there are trying to flip Chicago red. How about that, right? Whether we're here in Arlington and we see these amazing, amazing supporters of Jerry Torres, of President Trump, of Hang Tao. I mean, this is really the beginning of something miraculous and incredible. But I say again, just like the general said, you know, they can't do this alone. We cannot win this unless each and every one of us are vested in the future of our country. Whether that's going and putting your vote and casting your ballot and saying, you know what, this is my duty as an American. I am the soldier on the front lines. I remember one time Marty telling me, my husband Marty, he was blinded in Afghanistan, by the way, for those of you who don't know, lost his eyesight there on the battlefield, and continued to work. I mean, the guy is incredible, for another 10 years. With the government, with the U.S. government, yes. He's amazing. He's amazing. And by the way, we're in Texas now, and he just finished building a deck in our backyard. Completely blind. I know, I thought you would find it. He's amazing. But I remember, you know, Marty saying, you know, I went, and he was talking to some young guys that were saying, oh, you know, it's incredible, you're Delta Force, you're this, you're that. He said, yeah, but you're the front lines in America. You're the soldiers here on the battlefield, the national battlefield, the one that we are fighting to protect. You can't expect us to do the work for you, and each and every one of you cannot expect the government
And you know this as immigrants, those of you who just arrived, you cannot expect the government to rescue you. You are the boss. You're in charge. They work for you.
Time
They work for you.
to
Yes.
take action.
Yes, they do.
Time to take
Yes.
action.